Greetings, friends. Welcome to Friday. It's already afternoon. I've been awake for a while, but I'm making some food at the moment. It's not much, but I decided I might as well make like what I call gourmet grilled cheese sandwiches. I haven't had grilled cheese in a long time, and Kayla and I were talking about it this morning, and I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna make some. So I just put like some butter on the bread and then sprinkle a little bit of garlic powder and parsley flakes. So yeah, I think it's going to be nice as long as I don't overcook them. I do have a tendency to do that sometimes, especially with grilled cheese. I have a hard time judging when to flip them over and such. But we'll see how today's turn out. I normally use a skillet instead of like a flat top grill, but I think I'll have better luck with this one. So I'll be checking in with you guys a little later, let you know how it's going, and kind of showing you what I've been doing this morning, because I'm actually working on a project I haven't worked on in quite some time, and it's a project I'm excited to get back to work on. Ooh, yeah, that golden brown, that's like exactly what we want. I'm gonna let them cook a little slow, just so that way we can get the cheese inside nice and melty, because it's always satisfying to be able to pull it apart and, you know exactly what I mean. It's very nice. Okay, so I may have eaten those sandwiches a little too fast to show you the finished product. The cheese pull wasn't as satisfying as I expected, which is why I didn't really record it, but it tasted really good. They came out really well, and I can totally see myself making that like a normal thing. Especially if I have some like garlic powder and parsley to put on there. But in any case, I thought I'd show you guys what I've been working on. So there's an RPG Maker game that I started back in 2018, I want to say. And it took me a while to get like a finished demo out, and the demo takes about 5 to 10 hours to beat. And unfortunately I lost all that data because the game got corrupted, and then eventually I lost the laptop all the stuff was on. But, excuse me. I've decided to remake it again from scratch, and I am doing the back end things right now. So, if you'd like to look at the screen, I'm working on character skills right now. I finished developing all the spells and everything like that. So right now I'm just coming up with the unique abilities that everyone, like each individual character has. And there are a lot of playable characters in this, so I've got my work cut out for me. I only just finished making the skills for each of the 8 main party members, and now I gotta do the rest of them. So, how fun. It's fine. I'm just listening to my Falcon music playlist and getting this work done, taking my time. It's a long process, but that's kind of what happens when you're making a game. Even if it's on something as like RPG Maker, where you don't really have to do any coding. But that's why I like it. It just kind of makes things simple, and you can just get to making the game itself. And this game's going to take me years to make. I've still got a lot of music to compose for it, things like that. But I'm looking forward to making it a reality, and hopefully bringing it to you guys so you can play it. Honestly, I think part of what makes this game so special to me is that it is directly inspired by the very first novel I ever wrote. So it's definitely a long time coming. This book was always inspired by video games like The Legend of Zelda, Final Fantasy, things like that. And now I'm finally turning it into the form it's kind of always wanted to be. And I really like that. So it feels special to be working on this. Like, even if it's a game no one plays, whatever. This is basically just fulfilling a childhood dream of mine. And I think there's something really nice about that. Oh yeah, and since we didn't get to do so this morning because I was preoccupied, let's share our first sip together of coffee with my second cup of the day. Oh yeah, not bad. I've been kind of making my coffee a little more bitter, just because I want a little more coffee in the cup and not as much creamer. So it's got like that perfect bitterness, sweetness, and balance. At least, I think so, and most coffee drinkers probably would. I say that because one time I had Kayla try my coffee when we were living at the last house, and I was like, oh yeah, it's a little sweeter than I normally make it. And they did not like it. It was like they were biting into a lemon, and that was really funny. So, yeah, it'd be sweet to coffee drinkers, it'd probably be bitter as all hell to non-coffee drinkers. I'm gonna be grinding outside Cantlin for a very long time. Whoops. I recorded an entire like 2 minute clip, but I didn't realize I forgot to zoom the camera out, so it was like a super close up of my face, and it was real awkward. Anyway, I'll just kind of reiterate what I said, but in a shortened version because I went on a whole tangent that wasn't related. But I don't know if I mentioned it, but in between the last clip and now, on top of getting some work done on my game called The Crystal's Tale, and in the description maybe I'll post a link to the existing demo so you guys can get a feel for what I'm going for. Because the demo's totally free to play, and like I said earlier, it's like 5 to 10 hours, so it's a pretty meaty demo. What was I going? Oh yeah, on top of doing that, I also got some writing. I worked on the dialogue script for The Crystal's Tale, and I also got my daily 500 words written in my book, so that was awesome. I also was kind of agitated. I took a nap after those two. I forgot to mention that. When I woke up, I was kind of agitated and a little grumpy. At first, I thought it was because, I haven't eaten enough today because I don't have any money, so I gotta kind of be sparing with my food. And so I thought it was that. I thought it was like the slight headache I got after waking up, which I could fix if I just actually stopped being or procrastinating and got water. And I thought it was because of Dragon Quest, because even though I have the best equipment in the game and I am level 17, they are still dealing a lot of damage. So I thought it was because of all that, but I realized it's actually been a while since I got some fresh air. So I opened up my window and I put on a smile and I started thinking about things in a new light. It's a little thing called cognitive reframing, which I'd recommend looking up because I am far from qualified to explain it properly. But cognitive, like the layman's terms, I guess, is cognitive reframing is literally looking at things in a different light. It's kind of crazy how much it works when you actually learn how to do it. Because that's just the simple explanation. There's more to it than that. But yeah, cognitive reframing and getting some fresh air has put me in a better mood, so I'm going to play more Dragon Quest. I might get to Trails to Azure. I'm not sure though, because yesterday I said I would, and then I played Dragon Quest all day. So I'm probably going to play more today and just try to at least get to level 18, maybe a little beyond. Anyway, I gotta stop recording because this is the second take I've done of this clip and my arm is not feeling well. My attack power increased by like 12 in between levels 17 and 18, and holy crap, that makes grinding so much easier. Well, it took 2 attempts, but I finally did it. I don't know how well you guys can see that, but my runtime for this playthrough of Dragon Quest for the NES was 14 hours. That is way more time than I've ever spent on either of its remakes. Now that I've finished the NES version of Dragon Quest, I have officially played pretty much every port of the original Dragon Quest, except for like the mobile version, but from what I've heard, the mobile version is pretty much identical to the Switch version. So I thought I'd kind of give a review, kind of talk about my experience with the NES version in a little more depth, and kind of explain how I feel in terms of where it falls in between the 3 ports I've played. So, the NES version of Dragon Quest I isn't exactly new territory to me. I've been playing it basically since I started enjoying Dragon Quest, which was back in 2016, I want to say. I think the first time I really enjoyed Dragon Quest was when I played the Super Nintendo fan translation of Dragon Quest V, Hand of the Heavenly Bride. And playing that prologue and seeing how emotional the story was, I'm like, oh my gosh. Why haven't I played these games before? Because I tried playing Dragon Quest V once before when I was 16 years old, and I was just getting started into the emulation scene, but I was like more into Final Fantasy at the time, so like playing Dragon Quest felt a little slow to me at the time, and I'm like, nah, I like the more fast-paced turn-based action of Final Fantasy, so I just wasn't into it. But like the older I get, the more I appreciate the slower paced RPGs that Dragon Quest is, or that the Dragon Quest series is. And honestly, like, to put a long story short, I enjoyed this playthrough of it. Like, it did take me much longer to beat than any of the other versions of the game. Like, I can beat both the Super Nintendo and the Switch version in one sitting, so it takes about 5 to 6 hours to beat one of those. So this is over double the length of both of those, and that's just absolutely wild. And it would have been even longer if I decided to level grind to level 30. Hoo boy. So that is something I was considering for a little bit. I reached like level 18 and I'm like, oh, it's not going to take me that much longer to reach level 19. I think I should be fine to grind up to level 30. But once I realized the XP gap between levels 19 and 20, I'm like, oh no, this is going to take me a million years if I try to level grind to level 30, so I decided not to. And going through the Dragon Lord's castle is easy because I've done it so many times. The layout is the same in all three versions, like with some like subtle differences. But once you've memorized the layout, it becomes easy peasy lemon squeezy. Especially the layout for getting Erdrick's sword. It's real easy to get it. Not as definitely not as difficult as the final dungeon in Dragon Quest II, or at least the road to it. If you know, you know. But ultimately, like, there were times when the game did really frustrate me, and I had to like set it down and kind of take a breather. So like the game did kind of make me hate life on occasion, but I feel like that's kind of what it's designed to do. There's a lot of luck involved, even more so than in its remakes, because the damage variance is a lot wider than in the remakes. And if you aren't sure what damage variance is, that's like it's like a span or like a range of what your damage could be. So you have like, so say you have like an average damage of 10. If there's like a wide variance, there's a chance you could deal as little as 5 damage or as high as 15 damage. So that's what damage variance is. It's like you can deal between 5 and 15 damage, like anywhere between those if your average is 10. And in the modern remakes, the variance isn't as wild, so you kind of know what to expect. Once you reach a certain level, it's like, okay, it'll take this many hits to kill an enemy. But in the NES version, the damage variance is so much wider that like sometimes an enemy will beat you in 2 hits when it would normally take them 4 hits, and then sometimes it'll take you 4 hits to beat them when it would normally take 2. And the Star Wyvern or Star Chimeras are the worst thing in that game. I mean, I didn't fight any of the bottom level enemies in Charlock, the Dragon Lord's castle, so I could be wrong, but the Star Wyverns gave me the most problems because they have heal more, and if you deal just barely too much damage but you don't kill them, they will heal it and or they will cast it and restore all their HP. So I had a policy: if a Star Wyvern cast heal more twice in a fight, I would run. Like, it wasn't worth it at that point. It's like, yeah, the time I'm spending on this fight is not worth the XP I'll be getting. I could get this XP in another fight that will take less time. So that was my policy, and they were the enemies that frustrated me the most. The Dragon Lord himself, my first attempt, I lost purely because of my own fault. I was casting Radiant to illuminate the dungeon, and that costs 2 MP each use, and I think I cast it like 2 or 3 times, and doing so resulted in me not having as many or as much MP to cast Heal More on myself. You need that spell to beat the final boss. Because he deals so much damage, you need to be able to keep up with it. And Heal More costs 10 MP, so I had 128 total, so that's like 12 charges of Heal More. But casting Radiant left me with only 11, and that made a world of a difference when it came to the final boss. And I was not able to keep up my healing, and I ended up dying. Also, you deal way less damage to the Dragon Lord in this one than you do in the remakes. Like, I was dealing single-digit damage most of the fight. It's kind of crazy. I mean, I still beat him after my second attempt, because I didn't use Radiance. I brought a torch, which doesn't light up as much of the dungeon, but I knew the layout by then, so it wasn't as much of a problem. But yeah, I finally beat it. How does it rank among the other ones? Gameplay-wise, I kind of like it more. I've always been a fan of like the retro gameplay. I love NES RPGs. My problem is that a lot of the ones I like require you to draw your own map, and I don't often have the resources for that. Like the Digital Devil Story Megami Tensei games. Like, I prefer their NES versions over the Super Nintendo remake. But my favorite is probably the Switch version, which is most likely an unpopular opinion, but I just like how snappy it is, how quick it, or how like quickly you can level up, and it doesn't take much time to get to level 30, and I really like that. Because I like to kind of finish Dragon Quest games at the max level, so yeah, I like beating Dragon Quest 1 at level 30, Dragon Quest 2 at level 50. I think the max level in Dragon Quest 3 is 99, but I've never been crazy enough to try grinding that high. Who knows, maybe some future playthrough I'll spend a million hours doing that. But anyway, I've gone on long enough. It's not that late, but I don't really see much else happening today. I'm probably going to start Dragon Quest 2, if I'm being honest, because I just am not in the mood for Trails to Azure at the moment, so I might start Dragon Quest 2, and yeah, just enjoy the rest of the evening. Thank you guys so much for watching, you are all absolutely wonderful people, and as always, let's do our best tomorrow.